This rant review contains spoilers. This was a 245-page book that was about 200 pages too long. Hey booktube, it's V, and today we are talking about Piranesi. Usually I love slower and more thematic books, and there were parts of this book that I did enjoy. But for most of the book, I was just waiting for something to start. Really, anything. I really wanted to read this book because the concept was just really interesting. This book follows a guy named Piranesi who's basically wandering around a mansion with a bunch of statues in it. And that's what the whole world is. It's statues and rooms and an ocean that sometimes comes up off the bottom floors and floods things. Now, I have a lot of nightmares that involve me walking through an endless set of rooms. So I thought, hey, this story is pretty intriguing, kind of reminds me of something I think about already. Let's see where it goes. This book is also described as being dark fantasy, and there wasn't really a lot of darkness in it. And to its credit, something eventually did happen. At a snail's pace. Piranesi has this colleague who he thinks very highly of called the Other. Now, Piranesi sort of feels camaraderie with the Other, even though the Other just wants to spend 2 hours a week with him at like a meeting and then send Piranesi off to do little chores and explore parts of the house. Piranesi has these feelings of camaraderie and just like has a lot of respect because they're both supposed to be scientists exploring this new world. And the Other also brings Piranesi gifts like a pair of shoes when his falls apart or a sleeping bag. You know, basics to make sure he's able to live and exist in this world. As I'm reading these sections, it just feels like, as an outsider looking in, that the Other is taking advantage of Piranesi, and I really don't like that. I also don't really like how Piranesi just is oblivious to all of that. He's very happy-go-lucky, like, this is my research, I'm gonna write it very dry. If I wanted to read something dry, I'd probably go read the National Electric Code. That's how I fall asleep most of the time anyways. I should probably put a disclaimer in here that this book is very heavily not to my taste, even though I thought it was going to be to my taste. So I might be being a little bit mean about it. But then again, booktube seems to like rant reviews, so maybe this is a good thing? Maybe. Piranesi acts jovial as he's going through his day, but I can't help but think that he probably gets a little bit lonely on the inside, even if he's in denial about it right now. He brings food offerings to the piles of bones that he finds, and he also seems to be talking to birds. Now, I know that birds are alive and they seem to, at least on some level, understand him, but you can't have, like, connections that really mean a lot to you when that's the only people you have for company. And that's basically the entire book until we reach the Prophet and 16. I'm not really sure why the Prophet was in this book. All he does is warn Piranesi that 16 is coming, and that the closer 16 gets to finding them, the more dangerous the Other is going to get. The Other straight out threatens Piranesi that if he even reads messages from 16, that the Other will end him. Because apparently he's gone insane, because, you know, the Other likes to gaslight him. Like, I'm watching Leah Remini's show about Scientology right now, and the things that the Other does to Piranesi kind of sounds like tactics that are exposed in that show. There's gaslighting, there's this is the world you live in, this is how it goes, any sort of dissent is bad. And yet Piranesi is just like, hey, it's totally healthy. Then the big twist comes and the Other is the bad guy. Who would have thunk? Piranesi has also been keeping journals the entire time. And as he goes back and reads his journals, he figures out what's going on. You know, because it's just like blatantly obvious. The last 40 pages or so are an elongated rescue mission by 16 to try to save Piranesi. Then there's this whole flood, which I guess was meant to add like conflict or something, maybe give Noah's Ark vibes. It was totally Noah's Ark vibes. But it also did something very helpful, and it ended the Other without Piranesi, you know, having to get his hands dirty. He's still this innocent, sweet summer child who's barely starting to understand what a terrible situation he is in. And then 16 acts as a foil because she decides to, you know, treat Piranesi like a human being and let him make his own decisions. And she guides him and she just gives him that respect instead of trying to manipulate him into doing what she wants. You know, the exact opposite of what the Other did. Piranesi eventually decides to go back to the real world because apparently he is somebody with a family and people who, you know, expect him. And of course, like, his shoes and sleeping bag hookup isn't around anymore. So, like, what's he gonna do? And finally, this book is over. So there are some authors like Guy Gavriel Kay who could write a pamphlet on giving yourself an ice pick lobotomy and it would become my new favorite book. Susanna Clarke, on the other hand, cannot write a novel with no plot and it be entertaining. I'm sorry, it didn't work. There might be more thematic things, but honestly, like, this wasn't a hard book for me to figure out. I haven't been in a lit class in like 10 years and I could still understand what it was trying to say. This is probably my most disappointing read of the entirety of 2020. And 2020 has been pretty damn disappointing on its own. I don't understand why it has such high ratings on GoodReads. There's a lot of books that get 5-star reviews on there that do not deserve 5-star reviews. We're just going to leave it at that. So if you think you're going to love Piranesi, check it out from the library. It's probably not worth buying, at least not at full price. But I really wish that I had picked something else to spend my hard-earned money on, even though I'm one of those terrible people who has a bad habit of, buying books when they want to buy books. If you like what I do, please hit the subscribe button and join the Caffeination. We'd love to have you. I post bookish videos every week. I've been doing twice a week for the last couple of weeks. So I'm pretty proud of that. If you have an opinion, and I know you do because you're a person on the internet, leave me a comment down below. If you like or dislike this video, also, thumbs up, thumbs down. It's engagement. It's good for me. And if you think I suck at all this booktube stuff, also leave me a comment down below and I'll try to suck better next time. Bye!